Most people have heard of cholesterol. Some might even remember their LDL or HDL numbers from their last blood test. But there's something important that rarely gets talked about. It's called oxidized cholesterol. You won't hear about it in most routine checkups. You won't find it highlighted in your standard blood work. And yet, this form of cholesterol could be quietly building up inside your arteries, leading to heart problems even in people with so-called normal LDL levels. In this video, I want to walk you through something that could change the way you understand cholesterol forever. We'll talk about what LDL really is, what oxidized cholesterol means, why it matters, and how you can protect yourself from it, naturally. You're not going to hear sensational claims, just simple science, presented in a way that's easy to follow. And if you stay with me to the end, I'll also show you a step-by-step guide that's helped thousands of people reduce their cholesterol safely, without relying on medications. Let's begin. LDL stands for low-density lipoprotein. It's been labeled the bad cholesterol for decades. But that's a bit of an oversimplification. LDL is not inherently bad. In fact, your body needs it. LDL carries cholesterol, a fatty substance, through your bloodstream to cells that need it for building membranes, making hormones, and supporting brain function. Cholesterol itself isn't the problem. It's vital to life. The issue arises when there's too much LDL in the blood and when it stays there too long. You see, LDL can become dangerous when it interacts with the wrong conditions. Things like inflammation, high blood sugar, smoking, or stress. And that brings us to something more serious than LDL alone: oxidation. So, what is oxidized cholesterol? When LDL particles linger in your bloodstream, they become vulnerable to damage from unstable molecules called free radicals. These free radicals come from processed foods, pollution, stress, and even the natural aging process. When LDL is damaged by these free radicals, it becomes oxidized. Now, why does that matter? Because oxidized cholesterol is no longer just a passive delivery vehicle for nutrients. It becomes sticky, inflammatory, and toxic. It triggers your immune system, promotes plaque formation, and clogs up your arteries, quietly, over time. And here's the most important part: oxidized cholesterol is what researchers believe causes the most harm, not LDL by itself. You can have slightly elevated LDL and still be perfectly healthy, if it's not oxidized. But if your LDL is oxidized, even in small amounts, that's when your risk for heart disease climbs sharply. Now, you might be wondering, why hasn't my doctor told me this? The answer is simple. Most standard cholesterol tests don't measure oxidized cholesterol. They only look at LDL, HDL, and total cholesterol. They give you numbers, but they don't show how dangerous your LDL really is. Two people could have the exact same LDL level, but one might have mostly healthy, non-oxidized LDL, while the other has LDL that's heavily oxidized and inflammatory. One person is relatively safe, the other is a ticking time bomb. And yet, both would walk out of the clinic with the same advice: your LDL is a little high, let's try a statin. This is one of the biggest blind spots in modern cardiovascular care. And that's why learning about oxidized cholesterol could help you take control of your health in a more meaningful way. Now let's talk about what actually causes cholesterol to oxidize and how to stop it. Now that we understand how dangerous oxidized cholesterol can be, it's important to look at what actually causes this oxidation in the first place. You see, LDL cholesterol on its own isn't necessarily harmful. The trouble begins when it becomes damaged by a process known as oxidation. This happens when unstable molecules, called free radicals, begin to interact with LDL in the bloodstream, changing its structure and turning it into something sticky and inflammatory. But where do these free radicals come from? One of the biggest culprits is a diet full of processed foods and unhealthy fats. Things like fried foods, margarine, packaged snacks, and processed meats are major sources of these damaging compounds. When we consume them regularly, we increase the amount of oxidative stress inside our bodies, and that stress can begin attacking LDL cholesterol. Another common cause is high blood sugar. When glucose levels stay elevated for too long, they don't just affect insulin or energy. They also contribute to inflammation throughout the body, which creates the perfect environment for LDL particles to become oxidized. That's one reason why people with prediabetes or diabetes often have a higher risk of heart disease, not just because of sugar, but because of how that sugar affects their blood vessels over time. Smoking also plays a major role. Tobacco smoke contains thousands of chemicals, many of which are strong oxidizers. Even exposure to secondhand smoke can increase oxidative stress, especially in the blood vessels. It's one of the fastest ways to trigger cholesterol oxidation, which is why smoking is so closely linked to heart attacks and strokes. Stress, especially chronic emotional stress, is another factor that's often overlooked. When the body stays in a stress state for long periods, it releases a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is useful in small doses, but when it's constantly elevated, it can promote inflammation and disrupt the body's natural balance. Over time, this stress can accelerate the oxidation of LDL, quietly raising your cardiovascular risk even if your lifestyle seems healthy on the surface. And finally, there's the issue of antioxidants, or more specifically, the lack of them. Antioxidants are the body's natural defense system against oxidation. They help neutralize free radicals and keep your cells, including LDL cholesterol, safe from damage. But if your diet is low in colorful fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, or if you're not getting enough antioxidant nutrients through other means, your body can't fight back as effectively. The result? More oxidation, more inflammation, and more plaque formation inside the arteries. So, to put it simply, oxidation happens when your body is under too much pressure, from the foods you eat, the sugar in your blood, the smoke you inhale, the stress you carry, and the nutrients you lack. And that's why addressing oxidized cholesterol is about more than just lowering your LDL number. It's about supporting your body from the inside out and giving it the right tools to stay balanced, protected, and healthy. In the next part, we'll talk about how this oxidation leads to the formation of dangerous arterial plaque and why many common treatments fail to stop it. When most people think of plaque in the arteries, they imagine a sort of greasy buildup, like fat slowly coating the inside of a pipe. But the reality is much more complex and far more dangerous. Plaque doesn't form simply because there's too much fat or cholesterol floating around. It forms because something goes wrong at a cellular level, and that something is almost always triggered by inflammation and oxidation. Here's what actually happens inside the body. When LDL cholesterol becomes oxidized, it changes shape. It no longer functions the way it's supposed to. Your immune system senses this change and reacts to it, not unlike how it might respond to a virus or bacteria. White blood cells are dispatched to the scene. They try to engulf and break down these damaged cholesterol particles. But oxidized LDL is sticky. It clings to the walls of your blood vessels, particularly in areas where the vessel walls are already weakened or inflamed. Your body's response? It tries to patch things up. More immune cells arrive. Inflammatory chemicals are released. The inner lining of the artery thickens as the body attempts to seal off the problem. But instead of healing the area, it traps more oxidized cholesterol in the process. Over time, this creates a dense fatty deposit, what we call plaque. This plaque doesn't just sit there harmlessly. It narrows the arteries, restricting blood flow. And if that plaque becomes unstable or breaks open, it can trigger a clot. That clot can block blood flow entirely, leading to a heart attack or a stroke. And here's the twist. This whole chain of events can happen even if your overall cholesterol number isn't very high. That's why someone with normal cholesterol can still suffer a major cardiac event, because the real danger isn't just the cholesterol itself, but the condition it's in. Think of LDL as a match. It's only dangerous if it gets lit. Oxidation is what lights the match. And once that process starts, it's no longer just about diet. It's about inflammation. It's about stress. It's about balance, or the lack of it, inside the body. Now, you might be wondering, Doesn't medication help with this? Let's take a look. Statins are among the most commonly prescribed medications in the world. Millions of people take them every day in hopes of lowering their cholesterol and reducing their risk of heart disease. And to be fair, statins do what they're designed to do. They lower LDL cholesterol by blocking an enzyme your body uses to produce it. For some people, this can lead to a noticeable drop in cholesterol numbers, and in certain cases, a reduced risk of cardiovascular events. But numbers don't always tell the full story, because, as we've discussed, the true danger isn't just the amount of LDL in your bloodstream. It's the condition of that LDL, whether or not it has become oxidized. And here's where statins fall short. Statins do not directly address oxidized cholesterol. They may lower the total amount of LDL in the blood, but they don't stop that LDL from becoming oxidized in the first place. They don't eliminate the root causes of inflammation, stress, or free radical damage. They simply reduce production. Think of it this way. Imagine you have a warehouse full of boxes. Some are perfectly fine. Others have been damaged by water. If you reduce the number of boxes you're bringing into the warehouse, that might help. But if the water is still leaking from the ceiling, the damage will continue, no matter how many boxes you remove. In the same way, statins might lower how much LDL you have, but they don't stop what's actually damaging your cholesterol and turning it into something dangerous. And for many people, that's a problem. What's more, some individuals experience side effects from statins, things like muscle pain, fatigue, or digestive issues. Others feel fine, but become reliant on medication long-term, without making any real changes to the lifestyle factors contributing to their condition. That's not to say statins are inherently bad. For certain high-risk individuals, they may be necessary and even life-saving. But for many others, especially those with moderate cholesterol elevations, or those simply trying to stay healthy as they age, there's another way to approach this. A way that focuses on supporting the body's natural defenses. A way that reduces inflammation at the source. A way that doesn't just treat the numbers, but protects the arteries. And this is where natural strategies, like the one we're about to discuss, come in. In the next section, I'll walk you through how you can start reducing oxidized cholesterol naturally, using simple changes that support your heart, your blood vessels, and your overall well-being. Now that we've explored what oxidized cholesterol is and why it matters more than just your LDL number, let's talk about something even more important: how to reduce it. The good news is that your body has an incredible ability to heal and protect itself, if it's given the right tools. Lowering oxidized cholesterol isn't about extreme diets or complex routines. It's about understanding what creates oxidative stress in the first place and reversing it gently through consistent, supportive habits. Let's start with food, because what you eat each day is one of the most powerful influences on your internal health. First, cut back on foods that fuel oxidation. This means avoiding fried foods, heavily processed snacks, sugary treats, and anything made with hydrogenated oils. These foods flood your system with free radicals and contribute directly to the breakdown of LDL particles. Instead, build your meals around whole, unprocessed foods, especially those rich in antioxidants. Antioxidants are natural compounds that neutralize free radicals before they can cause harm. You'll find them in dark leafy greens, bright-colored vegetables, berries, garlic, nuts, seeds, and certain teas. One of the simplest things you can do? Add more color to your plate. A salad with spinach, purple cabbage, and red bell pepper offers far more protective nutrients than a beige plate of pasta and bread. Next, consider your sugar intake. High blood sugar levels don't just affect people with diabetes. Many adults, especially those over 50, experience occasional spikes in glucose without realizing it. These spikes promote inflammation and encourage cholesterol oxidation. Reducing added sugars, refined grains, and sweetened beverages can help your body stabilize its internal environment. Movement is also key. You don't need to train like an athlete, but gentle, consistent activity like walking, swimming, stretching, or dancing improves circulation, supports the liver's detox pathways, and helps your body manage cholesterol more effectively. Sleep plays a role as well. When you're chronically sleep-deprived, your body produces more stress hormones, which in turn increase inflammation. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of restful sleep whenever possible. And speaking of stress, emotional health cannot be separated from physical health. Chronic stress, the kind that simmers below the surface, impacts your hormones, your nervous system, and yes, your cholesterol. Deep breathing, quiet time, time in nature, or even short moments of gratitude each day can begin to lower that baseline level of stress and reduce oxidative pressure inside your body. Finally, supplement wisely if needed. While food should be your foundation, some people may benefit from additional antioxidant support, such as vitamin C, vitamin E, or coenzyme Q10, especially if they're recovering from illness or have higher levels of inflammation. Now, this may all sound like a lot, but you don't need to change everything overnight. Start small, choose one meal to improve. Take one extra walk this week. Swap one sugary snack for a handful of nuts or berries. These changes build momentum, and that momentum creates lasting results. If you're looking for a more structured, guided approach, something that gives you a step-by-step breakdown of how to reduce oxidized cholesterol naturally, there's a program I highly recommend. It's called the Oxidized Cholesterol Strategy, and it was designed specifically for people who want to lower their cholesterol without relying solely on pills or medications. This guide walks you through the exact foods, timing, lifestyle changes, and daily habits that have helped thousands of people protect their heart health and reclaim their energy. I'll tell you more about it in just a moment, but first, let's take a quick look at what kind of results people are actually seeing when they apply these changes. You might be wondering, do these kinds of natural changes actually work? Can someone really lower their cholesterol and reduce their heart risk without relying entirely on medication? The answer, for many people, is yes. Now, this doesn't mean you should ignore your doctor's advice or stop taking medication on your own. But what it does mean is that the body responds incredibly well to the right kind of support, often faster and more noticeably than people expect. Let's talk about real results. There are countless stories of individuals in their 50s, 60s, and even 70s who made simple, steady changes to their eating habits, began moving a bit more each day, added a few key nutrients to their routine, and saw measurable improvements in their blood work within just a few months. Some saw their LDL drop by 20 or 30 points. Others watched their triglycerides normalize. And more importantly, many reported feeling better, more energy in the morning, less pressure in the chest, fewer headaches, and a greater sense of control over their health. And it's not just about numbers on a lab report. People often describe clearer thinking, deeper sleep, and a general lightness in the body, like something heavy has been lifted. These benefits aren't surprising when you understand what oxidized cholesterol really does. It silently inflames the lining of your blood vessels. It interferes with circulation. It keeps your heart working harder than it needs to. So when you begin to reverse that process, by giving your body better inputs, you start to feel the difference everywhere. One person might start sleeping through the night again. Another might find their hands and feet no longer feel cold all the time. Someone else might notice that a long walk no longer leaves them winded. These are the kinds of changes that matter, because they're not just about extending life. They're about improving the quality of that life, day by day. Now, some people do all of this on their own, through trial and error, reading books, following health blogs, and figuring it out as they go. But others prefer guidance, a simple path to follow, with clear steps and fewer questions. That's exactly what the Oxidized Cholesterol Strategy was designed to offer. It's not a medication, it's not a crash diet, and it's not based on trendy advice. It's a method based on years of natural health research, broken down into practical daily actions that support your cardiovascular system from the inside out. The strategy includes tips on which foods to eat and when, how to lower inflammation without complicated supplements, and how to gently restore balance in your body over time, all without relying on prescriptions. And unlike many one-size-fits-all plans, this one is designed with older adults in mind. It's gentle, realistic, and based on how the body changes as we age. If you'd like to see what it's all about, or if you're simply curious whether it could help you, I've included a link to the guide in the description of this video. I truly believe that the more you understand about your own body, the more power you have to change your health. Not someday, but starting now. In our final section, I'll leave you with a simple recap, plus a few parting thoughts to keep you focused and encouraged as you move forward. Let's take a moment to bring everything together. You've now learned that not all cholesterol is created equal. LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, has gotten most of the attention, but it isn't the true villain. The real concern lies in what happens when LDL becomes oxidized. Oxidized cholesterol is sticky, it's inflammatory, and it can quietly damage your arteries, even when your LDL levels are considered normal. Most routine blood tests don't detect it, and many treatment plans don't address it. But now, you know what to look out for. You know that processed foods, high blood sugar, chronic stress, and a lack of antioxidants all contribute to the oxidation of cholesterol. And you know that protecting yourself doesn't require extreme changes. It starts with simple, daily habits that reduce inflammation and support your body's natural balance. You've also learned that while medications like statins can lower LDL, they may not fix the deeper problem. The real path to long-term heart health isn't just about lowering a number. It's about preventing damage at the root. Whether you're just beginning to think about your cholesterol or you've been managing it for years, there's always room to improve. The body is resilient. It responds to care. It remembers how to heal. And if you're looking for a simple, structured path to follow, something based in natural healing, not hype, then I encourage you to take a look at the Oxidized Cholesterol Strategy. It's helped thousands of people reduce their cholesterol, improve their energy, and protect their heart naturally. It doesn't require medication. It doesn't rely on gimmicks. Just steady, proven steps anyone can take. You'll find the link to the official program in the description below. It's an easy read, and it's something you can begin using today. If this video helped you see cholesterol in a new light, consider subscribing for more health tips like this one. And if you know someone who could benefit from this message, feel free to share it with them. It could make a real difference. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of your body, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.